of us being like, okay, now we know going into it that this is it. And we can kind of do whatever we want. So I feel really excited to see what they have planned. I hope it's completely unhinged. That's what I hope.
Yellowjackets showrunners have announced Season 4 to be their final chapter of the series, leaving many mysteries behind in the wilderness. Most of the lingering questions come from the teen timeline. And with time ticking until the survivors are discovered after Natalie's contact with the outside world in the Season 3 finale, viewers may not get every answer they hope for. I mean, even the Yellowjackets themselves don't quite understand exactly what happened out there, and that's why there's one surefire way for Season 4 to go out on a bang and give viewers some of the closure that they're seeking: to send the adult survivors back to the wilderness. Many fans have anticipated this twist to disrupt the survivors' mundane lives back in New Jersey, and the crossroads the adult survivors are left at by the end of Season 3, the opportunity presents itself for one final hunt. This is a narrative necessity, a mythic culmination rooted in the show's exploration of trauma, sacrifice, and the relentless pull of the wild. In this video, we will unravel why this return is the story's inevitable endgame, and how each survivor's sacrifice underscores the eternal and inescapable covenant of the wilderness. But before we get into it, if you love Yellowjackets as much as I do, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. I will be covering Yellowjackets throughout the remainder of this year and next year, as well as the final season of the series, which is anticipated in late 2026. If you're new to the channel, I also do a podcast deep diving on each new episode of Yellowjackets and much more, so check that out. I'll leave a link in the description. Now, let's get into it. Yellowjackets is no mere survival drama. It's a modern mythos, developed through tragedy and human nature stripped bare. The teen timeline weaves the origin story: a high school soccer team stranded in the remote Canadian wilderness, descending from camaraderie to ritualistic savagery, and the development of their own law of the wilderness. Yet the present-day narrative is the true labyrinth, where the final survivors, Shauna, Ty, and Misty, struggle to control the wilderness within them. Season 3 laid this bare: Shauna's family shattered by violence, Ty's life fractured by her alter personality, and Misty's obsession spiraling into chaos. Lottie's religious psychosis and death delivered the message: the wilderness never releases its hold. Narratively, the adults' return to the wilderness would be the story's destined resolution of a cycle began in blood. The wilderness is not merely a setting, but a force, a chthonic entity embodied by the symbol, the cabin, and the legends around Dead Cabin Guy, or Cabin Daddy, whatever we want to call him. It's a covenant forged in death and guilt that the survivors have evaded through suburban facades and fragile reinventions. The brutal death toll leading up to this final season marks the wilderness's demand for reckoning. The adults aren't free, they're bound. Returning isn't regression, it's confrontation. The teens stand at rescue's edge after Natalie's triumphant contact with the real world, but the adults face a deeper summons: to reconcile with the selves they buried. Yellowjackets thrives on this mirror of past and present, and a return fuses them into a singular mythic arc. The friendship between Shauna and Ty has gravitated between contention and compassion, but by now has eroded into a volatile rift, primed for a Season 4 showdown. In 1996, they were bonded through their mutual rejection of the wilderness's spiritual subsistence by using their own logic, while both were simultaneously heavily targeted by the power of that place. But as adults, their paths diverged. Shauna maintained the code of the wilderness, keeping their deadly secrets and isolating as a housewife, while Ty wrestled with her splintered self, seeking a political career and hiring Jessica Roberts to ply the other Yellowjackets for information. Neither could avoid the reckless chaos that the 25th anniversary of the plane crash brought to the surface.
So long as nobody does anything crazy, we have nothing to worry about.
Van's death was the breaking point for Ty. Van was the bridge to her humanity, accepting her alter personality without fear, but her death fuels Ty's fury, blaming Shauna's reckless leadership and her uncontrollable violence for reigniting the wilderness's pull. Shauna is crushed by guilt and her own shortcomings as a leader in both timelines and sees Ty's judgment as betrayal, a rejection of their shared sins, which they both kind of encourage from one another. A return to the wilderness forces this fracture into the open, setting up a climactic clash, or even a ritualistic duel for the Antler Queen's crown, where one must claim final supremacy over the wild.
But this place, it's messy. It doesn't want to be governed.
What are you saying?
Yellowjackets is a story where sacrifice means survival, and civilization is an illusion. The wilderness is a rite of passage, demanding offerings that forge or break those who enter. Each surviving adult has paid a profound cost, and their losses have driven them to the brink in order to face their final trial. Shauna lost Lottie, her strongest advocate for the wilderness and support for her claim as Antler Queen. Lottie was Shauna's shadow, all her rage, her guilt, and her hunger, but her death cuts Shauna's final tether to denial, compelling her to confront her primal self in the place that it was born. Ty lost Van, her lover and moral anchor, to the violent chaos brought on by their impractical reunion. Van faced Ty's alter self without fear, but her death leaves Ty's hope of integration at a delicate imbalance with the man with no eyes. Her abandoned political career reveals not a desire for a New Jersey Senate seat, but a buried yearning to rule the wilderness as its queen. Misty killed Natalie, her chaotic compass, when her overzealous nature forced her to act without thinking, a scene all too reminiscent of her friendship with Crystal. Natalie gave Misty purpose and a twisted sense of belonging, but her absence unleashes Misty's duplicity and the ability to see her fellow survivors from a new perspective, making her a volatile force that the wilderness craves. These sacrifices are not arbitrary, but mythic tests from the wilderness itself. A return offers Shauna, Ty, and Misty a chance to wield their scars as weapons before they are consumed by them.
It's like looking straight into the earth.
Oh, yeah. Sorta.
Melissa will very likely reemerge as a catalyst for Shauna's final descent. Their game of cat and mouse throughout Season 3 depicts Melissa as the embodiment of the wilderness's seductive pull on Shauna. Her presence, perhaps as a zealot to the Antler Queen, could urge Shauna to shed her final remnant of restraint, goading her to embrace the feral killer within with the same fervor Lottie once wielded. Yet, this allegiance would very likely spell Melissa's doom, echoing Jackie's fate. By encouraging Shauna's savagery, Melissa positions herself as the wilderness's next offering. Reduced to nothing more than meat, a sacrifice to fuel Shauna's transformation into the queen she's always been. This twist would underscore the wilderness's merciless cycle. It chooses.
It's time to start taking it back.
So, this is why Yellowjackets must conclude its final season with a return to the wilderness. And 4 seasons does feel like the right place to conclude the series, because extending the saga risks diluting its potency. Season 3 was a narrative forge, the teens fracturing into factions, the adults fully unraveling, and the sat phone heralding salvation. But, as we all know, Yellowjackets rejects tidy resolutions. A return to the wilderness strips away the adults' futile existence, forcing them all to face their truest selves, survivors forged in fire and blood. The stakes are elemental. With Nat, Lottie, and Van gone, the core survivors, and possibly Melissa, have positioned themselves for their final confrontation. The wilderness holds the answers to each lingering mystery, but most importantly, it offers closure in the place where both teen and adult timelines are fused into one cyclical arc. Season 4 could fuse the 2 timelines without excess, braiding the teens' rescue with the adults' return in a mythical loop. A return makes them visceral, a confrontation where the survivors either break the cycle or become its eternal stewards.
I know. I'm like, Thaisa for Antler Queen, please. That's all that I want.
The adults' return to the wilderness is Yellowjackets' final right. It's not a plot device, it's fate. The sacrifices made leading up to this final chapter prove only the resilient endure, and the wilderness demands they prove it once more. Will they hear the wilderness one last time? And will they discover what was buried and left behind 25 long years ago? But those are just my thoughts, so let me know yours in the comments below. Be sure to hit that like button if you enjoyed this video and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.
You know there's no it, right? It was just us.
Is there a difference?